Chapter 1. In the 8th year of their marriage, the canary Amias kept outside got pregnant. He brought the woman home and specifically named Selena to take care of her during the pregnancy. Pregnant women are emotionally unstable. From now on, put away your temper and make Lisa your top priority. She prefers light flavors, so avoid anything spicy or stimulating in her meals. But make sure her nutrition isn't lacking. Selena clenched her fists, staring in disbelief at the man in front of her. Are you insane? You're asking the legitimate wife to take care of your pregnant mistress? Amias, aren't you afraid that I'll finally have enough and leave you? What he was doing was a blatant slap to her face. But Amias Lin only raised an eyebrow. His tone still cold. Leave if you want. That'll free up your room for Lisa. That bedroom gets plenty of sunlight. Selena had heard similar words from Amias too many times. He was certain Selena Sue wouldn't leave him. They had been married for 8 years. Their business ties were entangled and messy. And Selena had always been infatuated with him. How could she let go so easily? But this time, Selena wasn't going to put up with it. Fine, as you wish. She wiped away her tears and, leaving that sentence behind, turned and went back to her room, efficiently packing her suitcase. Selena then began to take out the things she had once cherished from the closet. One by one, an emerald bracelet. This was a gift from Amias during their first year of marriage. But the day after she received it, she saw a tabloid story of Amias entering a hotel with a young woman, a top-grade crocodile leather handbag. That year she was pregnant. Amias had this gift brought from overseas. But the next day, he missed her prenatal checkup for no reason. She was frightened by a stray dog on the street and lost the unborn child. A necklace of celestial pearls. That was the day Selena caught Amias and Lisa in the act at his office. She lost her temper, only for Amias to slap her. Later, he sent this necklace, trying to gloss over the incident. A ring of crushed diamonds. A year ago, Amias took Lisa Zhao on a trip to Australia and bought a 10-carat diamond ring from a collector. After returning home, he casually handed Selena a complimentary diamond ring from the same collector. The gifts had become cheaper and cheaper, and so had Selena's feelings. In the end, she threw all the gifts into the trash. Amias, too, was something she no longer wanted. Before leaving the room, Selena paused and made a phone call. Do you still mean it, that you'll marry me once I get a divorce? There was a sharp clatter on the other end, like a glass hitting the floor. Then came a man's urgent and firm response. I meant it. I always meant it. I'll always mean it. Good. Selena nodded, took a deep breath, and stepped out of the room. But just as she reached the living room downstairs, Amias was already standing in front of her, blocking her path. Oh, that was quick, he said. Amias snatched the suitcase from her and shoved it into a guest room. Since you've cleared your room so quickly for Lisa, I'll just pretend you were joking about leaving. For the rest of the time, just stay home and take care of the pregnant woman. Don't make trouble and annoy me. But this time, Selena didn't take the out he gave her. She calmly took the suitcase back, and stated word by word with resolve. No need. I can leave right now. I wish you both a healthy baby and a long, happy life together. At that, a vein throbbed on Amias's temple. But half a second later, he raised an eyebrow and stepped aside mockingly. Fine, go ahead. I just hope that in 3 days, you won't come back crying, begging me to take you in. Anne, as Selena turned away, he suddenly grabbed her wrist and glanced at the suitcase. Open it. Make sure you're not taking anything that doesn't belong to you. That was an open, deliberate humiliation, but Selena remained composed, opened the suitcase, and said, Go ahead. Check. As soon as you're done, let me leave. Lisa Zhao had wandered over at some point and volunteered to check Selena's suitcase. Selena's belongings were simple, just documents and clothes. But Lisa pulled out a peace charm, examined it, then turned to Amias with a sweet smile. Brother Amias, this charm is so pretty. I want it. Selena's expression instantly darkened as she snapped back. No, you can't have it. Chapter 2. Amias Lin didn't even blink as he said coldly. If Lisa likes it, give it to her. It's just a peace charm. How much could it cost? I'll buy it. But Selena firmly rejected him, her tone unusually resolute. This was left to me by my parents. I won't give it to anyone. Selena had been frail since childhood. And her parents had doted on her. They had once climbed 399 steps at Mount Fulua just to obtain this peace charm for her. It was the only keepsake she had after their passing. At the mention of her late parents, Amias was briefly stunned, the mockery at his lips fading. But when he caught sight of Lisa's pitiful expression, he quickly repressed the flicker of sympathy. Then just lend it to Lisa for a few days. She's pregnant, you should give way to her. Before Amias could finish his sentence, Lisa reached out on her own to snatch the charm. Her long nails caught the charm and tore it in half during the struggle, shredding it completely. The motion also caused her to lose balance and fall hard onto the floor. Lisa! Amias rushed forward and shoved Selena aside to help Lisa with great care. Selena lost her footing, slamming her head against the edge of the table. Blood began to flow, her skull ringing from the pain, but it didn't even come close to the pain inside her heart. She stared blankly at the now-halved charm in her hand, feeling as if her heart were being ripped apart. Then came Amias's cold, emotionless voice. Selena, how dare you hurt Lisa? Apologize to her immediately. Selena forced herself to stand, her dazed eyes lingering on Amias's face, one she had memorized countless times. Any final trace of affection she had for him was gone. She closed her eyes and forced the words out of her throat. If I apologize, can I leave? Over 8 years of marriage, Amias had never lacked women around him, but Lisa was the one who'd stayed the longest. Selena had been forced to apologize to Lisa on more than one occasion for trivial offenses. Back then, she apologized in hopes Amias might see her as considerate and return to her and the family. But now, she only wanted to escape. Amias didn't speak. He simply waited for the woman in his arms to respond. Lisa bit her lip, looking hesitant. But Amias. I really liked that peace charm. Amias instantly grasped her intent. But before he could speak, Selena raised her hand to cut him off. Her nails dug deeply into her palms. She drew a breath, then said in a low voice, I understand. I'll personally climb Mount Fulua and get her another identical peace charm. Now, may I leave? Hearing Selena say again and again that she wanted to leave, Amias's brow involuntarily furrowed. Just then, Lisa cried out, clutching her calf. Ow, my leg scraped. Amias glanced at the minor wound, then turned and glared at Selena. Don't be in such a rush to leave, you haven't paid your debt. He waved a hand, ordering the bodyguards to seize Selena. Selena panicked. Amias, what are you doing? Let me go. Without a word, Amias scooped Lisa into his arms and gestured for the bodyguards to bring Selena along. At the hospital, the man dragged Selena into the operating room without explanation. Lisa scraped her leg. You need to donate skin for her graft. Selena's entire body shook, her eyes wide with terror. A tiny scrape like that won't even leave a scar, and you want me to give her a skin graft? Even the doctor wiped his brow nervously and tried to dissuade him. Mr. Lin, your wife has been frail since childhood, and her head is still bleeding. She really isn't in any condition to undergo a skin graft. Amias Lin looked momentarily uncertain, but thinking of Lisa and the child in her womb, he hardened his heart. He lifted a hand and gently stroked Selena's cheek, speaking more gently than usual. If you hadn't hurt Lisa, none of this would have happened. Just bear with it. It'll be over soon. Selena knew resistance was futile. She let out a bitter laugh and closed her eyes. Just get it over with. Afterward, she would still leave. On the other side of the ocean, someone was waiting for her. A thick needle injected anesthesia into her arm. Even in her dazed state, Selena could still feel the cold blade slicing into her forearm, stripping away her flesh. Watching the operation, Lisa nestled her head into Amias's chest and pouted. Amias. Selena's skin looks so scary. It's all bloody. I don't want it anymore. At those words, even the lead surgeon couldn't help but protest. We've already removed the skin, saying you don't want it now. Isn't that just toying with the lady? Chapter 3. Amias's cold gaze swept over the doctor. Lisa is the patient. What she says matters most. The doctor immediately fell silent. After a long pause, he timidly asked, then, Mr. Lin, what should we do with the skin? Amias looked at Selena's bloody arm and the freshly removed strip of flesh. He sighed deeply and replied in a low voice, wrap up my wife's arm properly. As for the skin, throw it away. It wasn't until the next day that Selena slowly came to from the anesthesia. The moment she opened her eyes, she saw a tall figure standing beside her bed. Amias gently asked, "You're awake? Does the wound still hurt?" Selena had heard everything that happened on the operating table. Now, faced with Amias's fake concern, she couldn't hold back a cold laugh. "What? Didn't get enough of my skin last time? Thinking about taking a second slice? Oh wait, silly me, you never even used it, and Lisa's little scrape is probably already healed, isn't it?" Amias was momentarily stunned. Selena had never been overly tender with him, but she'd rarely spoken to him with such venom. When had she become so sharp-tongued? He frowned slightly. "I just transferred 10 million to your account. Consider it payment for agreeing to the skin graft yesterday." Selena picked up her phone. Sure enough, the funds had been received. At the same time, several messages popped up, asking when she was leaving and which flight she had booked. Worried Amias might notice something, she quickly turned off the screen. "Fine, I'll take it." Selena accepted the money without hesitation. Over the years, she had never pretended when it came to financial dealings with him. Though their marriage had been a political one, it was really the Sue family that had been in decline and forced to seek Lin family's support. So after they wed, the Sue family's business had been managed by Amias. Whenever Selena needed money, she had to ask him. It was more like reclaiming her own dividends. Now that she was determined to leave, it was wise to have some money on hand. Seeing her accept the money so obediently, Amias left the room without further comment. Selena sat for a while, then got up to fetch some hot water, her throat dry. Passing by a certain room, she glanced through the window and froze at the familiar figures inside. It was the VIP room Amias had arranged for Lisa Zhao. Lisa was currently clinging to Amias's neck, trying to press her lips to his. Amias appeared to be resisting slightly, murmuring, "No, Lisa, you're pregnant. It's too risky." Lisa blew gently into his ear. "It's fine. I really want it. Just be gentle, okay?" As she spoke, she kissed him. Amias didn't push her away. In fact, he seemed to be yielding. The scene made Selena's stomach churn with nausea. She couldn't hold it in. Clutching her mouth, she rushed to the restroom and dry-heaved violently. She didn't know how long she had been there before staggering out in a daze, only to bump straight into a scowling Amias. "You were eavesdropping outside our room, weren't you?" Selena frowned slightly and was about to deny it when Amias added, "Don't bother pretending." Lisa saw the hot water flask you dropped at the door. She was so frightened she hasn't been able to sleep. "If you've got the energy to spy, then I guess your injury's healed. Time to honor your promise. Go get the peace charm for Lisa." With that, he grabbed Selena and strode out of the hospital. Amias had already arranged for a car to wait downstairs, complete with 2 bodyguards to ensure Selena carried out the task. And so, under guard, Selena was forced to go to Mount Fulua, climbing all 399 steps on her knees. By the time she obtained the charm, she was dizzy, disoriented, and barely conscious. She felt something warm and sticky between her legs. Then everything went black. She passed out completely. Chapter 4. When Selena opened her eyes again, she smelled disinfectant in the air. She had been taken back to the hospital. She sat up with effort. A sharp burn ran through her knees, wounds from kneeling on the steps. But in her heart, she felt a kind of relief. The amulet was surely already in Lisa Zhao's hands. Now, finally, she could leave. Just as she picked up her phone to book a plane ticket, the door to the room opened. Amias entered with slightly hurried steps and a facial expression Selena couldn't quite read. He spoke in a deep voice. "Selena, you're pregnant." "What?" Those words hit Selena's mind like a bolt of lightning, leaving her momentarily blank. When she snapped out of it, she snatched the paper Amias held in his hand. It clearly stated, 6 weeks pregnant. And 6 weeks ago, yes, it seemed that indeed they had. Amias's voice came from above her, cautious in tone. "I didn't expect you to get pregnant. The doctor said that, due to the skin graft and kneeling on the steps, you showed signs of an imminent miscarriage. There was even bleeding. But don't worry, the baby is out of danger now." Although, Selena's face turned cold. "Although what?" Amias hesitated for a moment but decided to say it. "But Lisa is also pregnant now, and she's emotionally unstable. You can have this baby, but until Lisa's pregnancy stabilizes, You can't tell her anything, that her pregnant wife had to stay silent out of fear of upsetting his mistress. Selena found it absurd. And then, she just found it sad. Of course. In Amias's heart, she had never come before Lisa, and neither did her child. The words of protest were already on her lips, but she swallowed them. She simply formed a silent decision in her heart, then looked up and asked, "I understand. Do you have any other demands?" Amias thought for a moment and replied seriously, "This baby was conceived after Lisa's, so I don't want it to be born first. My firstborn should be Lisa's." Selena Sue couldn't help but laugh. Then she placed her hand on her belly and nodded coldly. "Don't worry, it won't be born before yours. It wouldn't even be a possibility." Finally satisfied, Amias pulled out a thermal food container. "You haven't eaten anything since you fainted. I had them bring you some porridge. Eat a little." Selena calmly accepted the container, but Amias didn't seem to have any intention of leaving. He even picked up a spoon, intending to feed her. "No need. I'm not hungry." Selena turned her face away. After a long silence, she heard Amias sigh. "All right, stay in the hospital to take care of the pregnancy. If you need anything, tell my assistant." 8 years of marriage had taught Selena the real meaning behind those words. It was his way of saying, "Don't bother me. I have to be with Lisa and be a good future father." "Yes, I understand." Shortly after Amias left, Selena's phone rang. It was a foreign number saved as Romeo Lou. "Selena, you haven't written back since that call. Is it that you no longer plan to come? Or did something happen and you can't leave yet? Is there anything I can do? Whatever your decision is, you can tell me. Whatever the answer, I'll accept it." Romeo Lou's cautious and worried tone softened Selena's heart a little. She answered softly, "Don't worry. I haven't changed my mind. Some things just came up. As for the trip, give me a few more days. As soon as I settle things here, I'll come to you." Still concerned, Romeo asked many more questions. Selena had to promise over and over that she would go soon, and only then did he hang up reluctantly. Then, Selena put her phone away, got out of bed, and walked toward the gynecologist's office. She knocked on the door and said calmly, "Doctor, I'd like to schedule an abortion." Chapter 5. Selena wasn't wearing makeup. Her face, though a bit haggard, still held traces of youth. The doctor assumed she was just another lost teenager coming in for an abortion and calmly pulled out some forms while asking routinely, "And the baby's father? He needs to sign too." Selena paused for a second and answered with sincere expression, "The father died in an accident. I can sign alone." And so, Selena managed to schedule the procedure for that very afternoon without issue. When the cold instruments entered her body, she clenched her teeth. Inside her heart, there was only relief. In the days following the abortion, Amias didn't visit her at the hospital even once. Instead, Selena kept seeing his figure appear in moments shared on social media, all posted by Lisa. Thinking back, Lisa had been a university classmate, 1 year younger. After graduation, unable to find a job, Lisa constantly asked Selena out for meals, brought her gifts, and begged for help. Since she appeared sweet and obedient, always calling her big sister in a syrupy voice, Selena agreed to help her get a job at Lin Corp. She never imagined she was planting a time bomb for herself. But now, none of that mattered anymore in Selena's heart. The photos Lisa uploaded were clearly meant to show off, in all of them. Amias played the role of the perfect husband, tenderly cutting steak for her, carrying her heels as they watched the sunrise at the beach, dressing up in a mascot costume at an amusement park just to make her laugh. And in the most recent post, they were taking wedding photos on top of a hill. Lisa dressed in white, beaming with joy, and Amias holding her lovingly, posing happily for the camera. Many acquaintances who knew Amias was married commented with question marks. Selena's hand trembled, and she ended up hitting like on the photo. Not even a minute later, she received a furious call from Amias. "Lisa always dreamed of wearing a wedding dress with me. I've already given you the title of Mrs. Lin. This photo shoot was just to fulfill her wish. Was it necessary to make such a scene? Did you organize those people in the comments?" Lisa Zhao was so scared by them and you're like that she started crying. It took a lot to calm her down. "Are you happy now? Selena, how many times have I asked you to be understanding with a pregnant woman? And what do? Keep provoking. All you do is disgust me more. After this barrage of scolding, he didn't even give her space to explain. Hearing the beeping of the call ending, Selena sighed and set the phone aside, continuing her hospital discharge paperwork. As soon as she stepped outside the hospital, she saw Amias leaning against the car door. His gloomy expression revealed he was there to confront her. Selena nervously clenched her fingers and tried to explain. That was an accident. I didn't mean anything by it. She truly didn't. She just wanted things between Amias and Lisa to go smoothly, so no one would get in the way of her departure. Amias had come ready to scold her, but seeing her so alone and defenseless, the harsh words caught in his throat. He grabbed her wrist, opened the back door of the car, and ushered her inside, scolding gently. Can't you check the weather? You're dressed so lightly. The car interior was well heated, and as she entered, Selena was wrapped in warmth. Then she saw Lisa sitting in the front passenger seat. Lisa had heard what Amias just said and frowned slightly, but only for a second. Then, with a sweet smile, she greeted Selena in the back seat. Selena, you're finally out of the hospital. I already received the amulet. Thank you. I didn't think asking you for it would get you hospitalized. If I hadn't recognized you from afar, would you really have walked all the way home by yourself? Selena gave a faint smile, neither confirming nor denying. Her plan had been to return quietly, gather her papers, and leave without disturbing anyone. Now that they had found her, she didn't mind accepting the ride. The car glided smoothly down the avenue. Suddenly, Lisa let out a flirtatious ow. While checking herself in the side mirror, she tugged at the collar of her blouse and pouted. I told you to be gentle, and you still left marks. So annoying. Visible on her neck were multiple red marks, along with a subtle but unmistakable scent in the air. Selena immediately understood what they had been doing in the car before she arrived. Amias cleared his throat awkwardly and said nothing. For the rest of the ride, he kept stealing glances at Selena through the rearview mirror, trying to read her reaction, but Selena continued staring out the window, showing not even the slightest emotion. Chapter 6. When they got home, Lisa was still in the car, whining about her back and feet hurting. She insisted that Amias carry her into the house. Amias dotingly tapped her nose and bent down to lift her into his arms. All right, you're pregnant, you have every right. Selena quietly followed behind them, watching Amias stride ahead, cradling Lisa in his arms. Selena realized she no longer felt anything. Her heart had grown numb. There was no more pain. Perhaps it was the aftermath of the abortion. At dinner, Selena barely ate a few bites before excusing herself. Back in her room, she reopened her suitcase, planning to streamline her belongings even more. She wanted to leave as soon as Amias wasn't around. After all, she didn't know how long she could keep the abortion a secret, or what kind of fury Amias would unleash when he found out. Better to leave early, while she still could. Just then, the door burst open. Amias entered and immediately spotted Selena crouched by the suitcase. Her face pale, he frowned, rushed over, pulled her up, and forced her onto the bed, his voice full of reprimand. You should have had someone else pack this. Don't you know you're still pregnant and need to avoid overexertion? He then bent down and began putting the clothes she just packed back into the closet, one item at a time, watching her carefully folded clothes being returned to their place. Selena's expression darkened. Amias, what do you want from me? His brows knit tightly. I should be asking you that. You barely touched your dinner and locked yourself in the room like you're trying to punish me and Lisa. I already agreed to let you keep the baby. If you have any requests, just tell my assistant. What else are you unhappy about? Forget it. He rubbed his temples, then suddenly remembered something. Lisa wants to go out to sea tomorrow. I've arranged a ferry. When we're out, watch your attitude. Don't go sulking in front of her again. Selena instinctively replied, I'm not going. Amias had already reached the door, but her response made him stop and speak coldly over his shoulder. Lisa specifically asked you to come. Your spot on the ferry is reserved. It's not up to you. The next morning, 2 luxury cars were waiting outside the villa. Lisa was uncharacteristically warm, holding onto Selena's arm and insisting they ride together to the port. Amias gave her a helpless yet indulgent look. Didn't you say you wanted to ride with me alone? Why change your mind? Lisa pouted playfully. I need to have some girl talk with Selena, sis. You're not allowed to come." As she spoke, she pulled Selena into the car. But the moment the door shut, her smile vanished. She didn't even glance at Selena. Putting on an eye mask and leaning back to rest, Selena frowned, a sense of unease creeping into her chest. Halfway through the drive, a strange scent drifted through the air. Selena's head began to feel heavy, her eyelids drooping. The drowsiness quickly became overwhelming. She woke to a splash of freezing water, coughing violently. Selena opened her eyes to find herself surrounded by a group of hostile, thuggish men. "Who are you? Let me go!" Panicked, she struggled with all her might, but her limbs were tied tightly, and the area around her was nothing but deserted wilderness. "Don't bother struggling," a familiar voice sounded from behind. Turning her head, Selena was stunned to see Lisa, also tied up. But the ropes on Lisa were noticeably loose, and the men around her treated her with exaggerated respect. That was when the truth hit Selena. "You're in on this? Lisa, what the hell are you doing?" Lisa gave a cold, scornful laugh. "Oh please, Selena, you think I don't know about your little secret? Still dreaming of using that bastard in your belly to steal my man? Fine, I'll give you a chance to see for yourself, between two pregnant women, which one Amias Lin truly cares about." She shot a look to the lead man, who immediately pulled out a phone and dialed Amias. "Mr. Lin, both of your women are with us. If you want to save them, come alone, to the mountain I'm about to name." On the other end, Amias's voice rang out, sharp and icy. "I'll be there right away. If you dare lay a hand on either of them, I'll make sure you suffer worse than death." Chapter 7. While they waited for Amias to arrive, a filthy, foul-smelling rag was shoved into Selena's mouth. She tried again and again to tell Lisa that she had already gotten an abortion, but she couldn't make a sound. The rag even brought tears to her eyes. Lisa took great pleasure in seeing her suffer. "Selena, I just remembered something really funny. Want to hear it? Do you remember your first baby? You were so happy back then." But Amias didn't seem that excited. "Do you know why? Because he once promised me that his first child would be with me. That's why he ignored you, and even followed my suggestion. He had a rabid dog placed in your path on the way to your checkup, so it would attack you and make you lose the baby." Selena, who had still been struggling up to that point, opened her eyes wide. What she had just heard hit her like a truck, leaving her in total shock. So that's why, on the day of the checkup, Amias insisted he had an important meeting and refused to accompany her. So that's why, after she lost the baby and cried her heart out, he hadn't shed a single tear. That child, he had never wanted it to begin with. Just then, Amias's voice rang out nearby. He came running toward them, eyes anxiously scanning Lisa and Selena. After confirming that neither had serious injuries, he shouted coldly at the group of kidnappers, "The money's here, let them go now." One of the kidnappers, smirking, suggested a direct exchange, but just as they were about to release them, he received a signal from Lisa and changed his tone. "No, we'll only release one, the other, after we get the second payment. Make your choice. Pick which one you're taking." Was there anything to choose? Selena already knew the answer. She closed her eyes in hopeless resignation, but then she heard Amias's voice, firm and unmistakable. "No way. I'm taking them both today." At that moment, noise broke out all around. When Selena opened her eyes, she saw Amias's men already surrounding the area. In the blink of an eye, they had subdued the kidnappers. Selena and Lisa were rescued at the same time. But the first thing Selena saw was Amias rushing over to Lisa to untie her. "Lisa, are you okay?" Lisa Zhao clutched her belly, face contorted in pain. "Amias, I feel terrible, my stomach hurts. Is something wrong with the baby?" "Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to you or the baby." Amias comforted her in a soft voice as he decisively picked her up in his arms. He gave swift orders to his men to ready the car and contact the nearest hospital. Then, with a look of urgency, he carried Lisa away. His subordinates rushed after him, afraid that any delay in medical attention might get them blamed. Not one of them, not a single one, looked at Selena. Not to untie her. Not to remove the rag from her mouth. Once everyone was gone, Selena was left alone. She had to drag herself over to lean against a tree, and only when night fell did she manage to break the ropes and free herself. Staggering, falling over and over again, she descended the mountain. By the time she reached the bottom, her phone was completely dead. She had no choice but to go to the nearest police station to report the incident. Less than 30 minutes later, Amias stormed into the station, wrapped in cold wind, dressed in a dark gray suit. He exuded coldness and authority. He signed the documents with a serious face, took Selena with the same cold expression, and shoved her into the car without a word, until he finally snapped. "Selena, your whole performance is just theater. We already rescued you. Why pull a stunt like this to get sympathy? Who do you think you're fooling? You know that phone call almost woke Lisa up? Can you take responsibility if she doesn't rest properly during her pregnancy?" Selena lowered her eyes and didn't say a word. There was no point anymore. When they arrived home, the first thing she did was grab her documents. She didn't want to waste a second more, but as she stepped out of the room, she was surprised to see Amias still in the living room, not having gone to rest. His face was darker than ever. Selena Sue took a deep breath and handed him the divorce papers. But before she could say a word, Amias's imposing figure loomed over her. He grabbed her jaw tightly, his voice icy and accusatory. "I just got a call. The kidnappers have confessed who hired them, and no matter how much I think about it, I never imagined it could be you. Selena, how can you be so twisted? Are you that desperate to force me to choose between you and Lisa?" Chapter 8. Selena's heart sank. She was completely stunned. She hadn't expected Lisa to have held back this card, to pour the blame on her now, letting Selena take the fall for what she had orchestrated. Selena immediately tried to explain. "It wasn't me. It was Lisa. She's the one who..." But before she could finish, Amias's grip on her jaw suddenly tightened, as if he intended to crush her bones. Pain shot through her body, making her tremble. Her breathing labored. Amias's voice grew even colder. "Even now, you're trying to drag Lisa down with you? Selena, you've really disappointed me." With that, he dragged her forcefully into the underground cellar. Selena had always feared the dark, even more so this lifeless, enclosed space with no trace of warmth. Her heart pounded as she scrambled up and rushed toward the only strip of light near the door. Amias stood at the threshold, watching coldly, just as her fingers brushed the edge of the doorway. He shoved her back without hesitation. "Stay here and reflect. When you've learned to let go of that jealous, bitter mindset, then I'll consider letting you out." The door slammed shut behind her. Darkness swallowed everything. "Amias, let me out. You can't do this to me." Every terrifying memory she had of the dark came flooding back. She flung herself at the door, pounding and clawing, but there was no response from outside. "I'm innocent. You've got it wrong. I didn't do any of this." Frantic, she grabbed a tool and began smashing it against the metal door. But the only answer was the echo of her strikes, and then silence. Selena didn't know when she lost the strength to go on. She slumped weakly against the door, searching in vain for a crack of light. Later that night, her dazed senses caught the scent of thick smoke. Was something on fire? Outside, chaos erupted. "Ah! Fire! Amias' brother! Carry me out, quick!" Through the crack beneath the door, Selena could see flickering firelight. She heard Amias's voice, felt his hurried steps, until he reached the door, then stopped. "I'll be right back," he said, placing Lisa down. "Find somewhere safe to wait. I'm going to get her now." But then Lisa screamed, clutching her stomach and collapsing to the ground. "Amias! My stomach, it hurts. Is the baby okay?" Amias froze. Then, without hesitation, he turned back, scooped Lisa into his arms, and ran toward the hospital, never looking back. Selena heard everything, choking on smoke, unable to speak. She dragged her arm weakly across the door, tapping with what little strength remained. Her heart had already plunged into a bottomless abyss. Just as she was about to lose consciousness, the door burst open. It was the housekeeper, Miriam, who had followed the sound and found her. "Madam, are you all right?" Out in the open air, Selena greedily inhaled fresh oxygen. Her mind gradually cleared. She gently refused Miriam's offer to take her to the hospital. Instead, she pulled out all the cash she had on her and stuffed it into the woman's hands. Take this, and please, pretend you never saw me tonight." Then she turned, walked to the roadside, and flagged down a cab. "To the airport, please." Behind her, the flames raged through the villa, painting the night sky in crimson. Selena stared out the window at the passing lights, her tears blurring the world before her. Goodbye to this 8-year nightmare of a marriage. Goodbye. Amias. Chapter 9. After taking Lisa out of the mansion, Amias carried her straight to the car, running multiple red lights to reach the hospital as quickly as possible. Throughout the entire ride, his mind was consumed with concern for the baby Lisa was carrying, and he didn't notice the faint, satisfied smile appearing on her face. While waiting for the results of Lisa's checkup, Amias finally had a free moment and pulled out his phone. He considered calling Selena to check on her. He assumed she must have gotten out of the fire by now. After all, the blaze had been big. Surely the firefighters arrived quickly. And if not, someone as clever as her wouldn't just let herself die inside. Still, he didn't know why, but he felt the urge to call her, to confirm, just to be sure, that she was truly okay. As he reached for his phone, a crumpled piece of paper fell from his pocket. It was the same paper Selena had given him earlier, right before he locked her in the basement without letting her speak a word. He unfolded it, and what he saw made his eyes go wide. It was a divorce agreement. 8 years of marriage, countless arguments. They had even gone an entire month without speaking after a particularly bad fight. But Selena had never mentioned divorce. That's precisely why Amias had always believed she would never leave him, and it was precisely why he had grown more and more cruel with her. But now, she really wanted a divorce. He suppressed the impulse to tear the paper apart. He wanted to go find Selena immediately and demand an explanation. At that moment, Lisa stepped out of the examination room, accompanied by a nurse. "What's wrong, Amias?" Amias stopped, frowned, and handed her the paper. "Selena gave me this tonight." Lisa took it, looking confused at first, but when she read its contents, a flicker of joy crossed her face. She quickly hid it and, clutching Amias's arm, began to stir the flames. "How could she, Amias? You've given her everything for all these years. Not being grateful is one thing, but she wants to divorce you on her own terms? She's clearly doing this because she can't stand my presence, trying to force you to choose by pulling tricks like this. Why don't you just agree to the divorce? Then she'll realize she can't manipulate us so easily, don't you think?" Her words seemed to spark something in Amias. His thoughts slowly calmed, and his body relaxed. Yes, if Selena had really staged a kidnapping just to force him to choose between her and Lisa, then this divorce request was probably just another one of her tactics. What a move! He didn't really plan to divorce her, but maybe it was better to let her cool off for a few days. Doesn't matter. Let her do what she wants. Amias draped his arm around Lisa's shoulders and asked gently, "Lisa, what did the results say? Is the baby okay?" Lisa nestled into his chest, faking a pained expression. "The doctor said the scare caused contractions. I need rest and should stay hospitalized under observation for a week. Amias, will you stay with me this week like you promised?" "Of course." Amias stroked her hair gently and personally escorted her to the VIP room he had reserved just for her. That night, while peeling an apple for Lisa, he spoke softly. "Lisa, once you're asleep, I need to head back home for a bit. I want to investigate the cause of the fire and help coordinate the paperwork." Upon hearing this, Lisa frowned. She grabbed his hand and pouted. "No, you said you'd stay with me all week. You can't break your promise." Amias could only sigh in resignation. "All right." He waited until Lisa was fast asleep, then quietly slipped out of the room and dialed his assistant. "Is everything ready regarding the fire? I can't go in person, so contact the architect and get the mansion rebuilt. Put all costs on my account." "Understood, Mr. Lin." "Oh, and find a way to move Selena into the house I have in the south of the city. She's pregnant, so make sure she lacks nothing." There was a couple of seconds of silence on the other end. Then, the assistant asked hesitantly, "Mr. Lin, but I haven't been able to reach Mrs. Selena. Isn't she with you?" Chapter 10. Amias didn't hear that last sentence. Just then, Lisa woke up, hearing movement in the room. He immediately hung up the phone and went to comfort her. In the days that followed, Amias truly did not leave Lisa's side for a single moment. concerned that hospital food might not suit her tastes. He even called Miriam to personally care for her. Lisa, delighted, began openly comparing herself to Selena in front of Miriam, speaking with scorn. Miriam, if they hadn't sent you to take care of me, you'd still be stuck with Selena. But I bet she's not as easy to deal with as I am, right? Oh, and by the way, haven't you finished fixing the dress I gave you yet? I'm not as picky as Selena, but that's no excuse to slack off. Amias has been with me every single day. Can you imagine how Selena must be? She must be dying of jealousy. Hasn't she thrown a tantrum yet? Miriam, remembering the large sum of money Selena had given her before leaving, along with the warning not to reveal her whereabouts, wished she could sink into the ground and disappear. At the same time, she couldn't help but silently despise Amias. How could he let go of someone as good as Selena and favor someone as calculating and jealous as Lisa? As for Amias, he too was starting to feel suffocated by Lisa's clingy personality. He remembered when Selena was first pregnant, although he valued the baby. What she wanted most was simply to be with him, to go through the process together. But when he made excuses about work, Selena never insisted again, even when she lost the baby. Broken and alone in the hospital, she was never as demanding as Lisa. Thinking back, although Selena was never lacking in material things, emotionally, he had completely neglected her. How long had it been since he'd seen her cry in front of him, truly get angry, or show any dependence? What if, deep down, Selena was also just a girl who needed companionship, who wanted attention and affection, just like Lisa Zhao? The thought crossed his mind briefly, but he immediately dismissed it. No, impossible. If Selena were that innocent, she wouldn't have staged a kidnapping to force me to choose between her and Lisa. Besides, marrying Selena wasn't even his decision from the start. She had never been his ideal wife. He had already given her enough. Now he was simply doing what he wanted. Why should he care how she felt? Amias ran a hand over his forehead, sighed, and quickened his steps back to Lisa's room. At that moment, he overheard a group of nurses chatting. Mr. Lin really dotes on Miss Zhao, a billionaire humbling himself to meet her every whim. The other day, she said she wanted to see fireworks, and he booked the entire city's display just for her. The whole hospital knows she's his favorite. Plus, she's pregnant. Of course she's the priority. But one nurse muttered sarcastically, "Ugh, he's just a cheater disguised as a romantic. Didn't you know Mr. Lin is married? He abandoned his pregnant wife to care for his lover's baby. Pathetic." What? Seriously? The nurses gasped and began whispering among themselves. Suddenly, they felt a chilling presence behind them. Turning around, they saw Amias standing there, face dark with fury. The nurses quickly bowed their heads and scattered, pretending to be busy. Amias's face was still burning with anger. He punched the wall with a clenched fist. But in his mind, Selena's face appeared, and the baby she was supposedly carrying. Despite his favoritism for Lisa, Amias had wanted to know how Selena's pregnancy was going. But because he was still punishing her, he didn't want to give in. Then he remembered when Selena fainted on Mount Foluo. She was hospitalized for several days. All of that should be recorded. He headed to the obstetrics department and knocked on the chief physician's office door. "Show me Selena's prenatal records." The doctor, hearing the name, recognized it immediately and pulled up the file on the computer. "Oh, Selena, wasn't she the young woman who came alone to get an abortion? I heard the baby's father had died. Such a sad case. Are you a relative? What did you say?" Amias thought he had misheard. He lunged at the doctor and grabbed him by the collar. "Who did you say had an abortion?" Terrified, the doctor stammered, "Miss Selena, she had an abortion. I performed the procedure myself." As he spoke, he turned the computer screen toward Amias. "See, it's all here, signed by her." Amias's eyes widened. On the screen, he saw the surgical consent form with Selena's signature. And for a moment, his mind went blank. So that's why she had stayed hospitalized in silence for so many days. So that's why her face was so pale the day she was discharged. She had aborted without telling him. How dare she? Furious, he released the doctor and pulled out his phone to call his assistant. "Where is Selena? Tell her to come to the hospital right now." The assistant hesitated before answering. Mr. Lin, as I already informed you, we haven't been able to contact Mrs. Selena since the fire. We don't know where she went. Chapter 11. Amias's eyes flew wide open. He ended the call at once and dialed Selena's number. As the assistant had warned, no one answered. The ringtone echoed long into silence, then cut off automatically. A wave of panic began to rise in Amias's chest. If no one had seen Selena since the fire, and the villa had burned to the ground, where else could she have gone? No, she couldn't have. He refused to even finish the thought. Without another second's hesitation, Amias dashed out, jumped into his car, and drove straight to the scorched remains of the villa. The once grand home had been reduced to ashes. Rain fell steadily from the gray sky. Amias stepped out of the car, walking slowly toward the ruins. His assistant followed behind, struggling to hold an umbrella over him. Mr. Lin, the assistant began hesitantly. I've already contacted the police, but the cameras in this area were broken the night of the fire. There's no footage, no sign of where Madame Selena went. Anne, his voice trailed off. Amias turned sharply, voice trembling. And what? The assistant's voice dropped to a whisper. The police said the fire was too intense. They believe there's a high chance she never made it out of the cellar. She may have already been reduced to ashes. They advised you to prepare yourself mentally. Shut up! Amias roared, his voice sharp and guttural. He smacked the umbrella away, pointing a shaking finger at the assistant. She's not dead. Who gave you the right to curse her like that? Get out of here! Don't let me see your face until you find her. Startled by the sheer rage in Amias's eyes, the assistant quickly turned and fled the scene. Left alone in front of the charred ruin, Amias's knees gave out beneath him. He sank to the ground. He clenched his fists and pounded the earth. Over and over. He had already feared the worst, but hearing it from someone else, spoken aloud, shattered something deep inside him. He pressed his hand to his chest. The hollow ache there tore through him like knives. Selena can't be dead. She was always so full of life. And then the memories came flooding back. The day he first met her, his mother had told him Selena's parents had died in an accident. The Sue family was on the brink of collapse. In order to save the family business, Selena was to marry into the Lin family. He, Amias Lin, had no say. Because of debts owed by the previous generation, he'd been forced to marry a girl who still looked like a naive, sheltered child. On their wedding night, he'd come home drunk, slurring cold rules at her. He would protect the Sue family, give her a comfortable life, but she should never think she could tie him down with this farce of a marriage. After that, he'd been with countless women. Sometimes, he hadn't even bothered to hide it well. Selena had found traces, confronted him. Those were the days when she was most alive, yelling, smashing things, crying to his mother. She had been fiery, reckless, real. And now? He had wounded her so deeply she didn't even cry anymore. She'd left in silence. Now, maybe forever. The rain pelted his back, soaking his expensive suit. He wiped his face, not sure if what streamed down his cheeks was rain or tears. Then, Amias brother. Lisa's voice called from a distance. She had rushed over as soon as she got the news. When she saw Amias slumped and drenched in front of the ruin, she panicked and ran to him with her umbrella, murmuring comfort. Amias brother. I heard everything. Don't be sad. Even if Selena's really gone, you still have me. The word gone made Amias's spine stiffen, but Lisa didn't notice his reaction. She kept talking, oblivious. Actually, it's not all bad that Selena died. Now your marriage is over, and she can't cling to you anymore. I know you hated being forced to marry her, but now, everything's fine. She's gone, and we can finally get married. We can be together openly. Before she could say another word, Amias grabbed her wrist. His face was blank, but his eyes were filled with a terrifying, frozen fury. Lisa's breath hitched. She had never seen him look like this. Then he spoke, voice cold and utterly emotionless. Selena is not dead. She's missing. And Lisa, if I ever hear you say one more word against my wife, I won't let it go. With that, he flung her hand aside and stood. Maybe it was the cold rain. Maybe it was the overwhelming grief. Whatever the cause, Amias had barely taken 2 steps before the world spun, and everything went black. He collapsed to the ground, Chapter 12. When Amias opened his eyes again, he realized he was lying in bed. Someone had brought him to his villa in the southern suburbs. He rubbed his forehead and sat up. Just as he moved, the butler rushed in. "Mr. Lin, thank goodness you're awake. Please come downstairs quickly." After hearing about Madame Selena's disappearance, the Sue family came storming in. "They're making a huge scene." The Sue family? Amias's brows knitted. He quickly changed clothes and headed to the living room. The room was packed. Selena's uncles, aunts, and a handful of greedy, immature cousins had all shown up. The moment they saw Amias, they pounced like vultures to a corpse, wailing crocodile tears. "Amias, you bastard! Our Selena was such a sweet girl, and now she's dead because of you. She loved you wholeheartedly, and you cheated on her, even got a mistress pregnant. You drove her to her death. She was always so cheerful. This wasn't an accident. It was heartbreak that killed her." Amias's face turned stormy, because their vicious accusations, on closer inspection, were true. It was his betrayal. It was his coldness. It was he who had driven Selena to despair. But the Sue family showed no signs of stopping. On the contrary, their shrieking grew louder. A few even threw themselves to the floor, flailing and sobbing. Amias felt like his skull was about to crack. At his limit, he raised his leg and kicked the coffee table into splinters. The crash instantly silenced the crowd. He swept them with a cold, razor-sharp gaze and snapped, "Shut your mouths. The police haven't even confirmed her death, and you're already calling her dead. What are you really after?" The room held its breath. Then, one of Selena's younger cousins straightened up and shouted, "She couldn't have survived that fire. She's as good as dead. And don't think we don't know what you're doing. You just want to push us out and steal the Sue family fortune for yourself. Sue Corp was left by my aunt and uncle to Selena. Now that she's gone, we are the rightful heirs. Hand it over!" Amias narrowed his eyes, staring down at the shorter man. Finally, he understood their true intentions. This was never about grief. It wasn't even about Selena. They were here to fight over her inheritance. And to think, Selena had treated these people generously, even insisting they receive annual dividends from Sue Corp. But now, in the darkest moment of her life, they all gathered, not to pray for her safety, but to hope she was dead. Amias shut his eyes briefly. For the first time in his life, he truly felt how unfair it had all been for Selena. He raised his hand and called over the butler. Without a flicker of hesitation, he ordered, "Throw them out. And from now on, none of them are allowed within 10 meters of this house. Also, spread the word, anyone who dares say my wife is dead before it's confirmed. I'll ruin them." As the security team began herding the Sue family out amidst screams and protests, Amias turned away and walked upstairs without a backward glance. Back in his room, their greedy, twisted faces still haunted him. His chest tightened with rage and regret. Unable to suppress it anymore, he called his mother. "Mom," he said quietly, "I need to ask you something. When Selena was living with the Sue family, was it really that bad?" His mother, who had been hospitalized long-term, wasn't even aware Selena had gone missing. She was surprised by the sudden concern in his voice. "Humph, so your conscience finally woke up, did it?" She sighed on the other end. After her parents died, Selena bounced around between relatives. They all fought for custody, not to care for her, but to take control of the inheritance. Once they got her, they ignored her, starved her, treated her like a burden. The truth is, Selena's parents once saved our family. We should have arranged the marriage much earlier to get her out of that hell. But I hesitated, thinking a proud girl like her wouldn't look at you. It wasn't until I stumbled upon her diary and saw how she had secretly liked you for years, only then did I finalize the marriage. Amias's grip on the phone tightened. His voice cracked. "She liked me? Secretly?" "Of course. She was your junior in college. Always followed you from afar. I thought it was fate. You two were meant to be. But you heartless boy, you kept hurting her over and over again." Each word landed like a dagger in Amias's heart. He hung up abruptly, unable to take more. That night, he stood by the window, chain-smoking in silence, as the first light of dawn stretched across the sky. He made up his mind. No matter what, dead or alive, he would find Selena. And if she lived, he would spend the rest of his life making things right. Chapter 13. The bedroom door burst open. Lisa entered without warning. She wore a fine, translucent nightgown and clung tightly to Amias's waist from behind, her voice trembling with a soft sob. Amias, darling, I had a horrible nightmare. It was so terrifying. Since Amias had reprimanded her 2 days ago, Lisa had been terrified. Even though she had also come to the southern villa, she hadn't dared to face him. She couldn't understand it, if Selena's death was supposedly a good thing. Why had Amias, who always claimed to be fed up with her, reacted with such anguish? Then a terrifying possibility occurred to her. What if Amias had fallen in love with Selena? If that were true, what would happen to her? What would become of her and the baby? Until now, she had used Amias's favoritism to crush Selena from a position of power. But if Selena, the legitimate wife, truly won his love, Lisa wouldn't stand a chance. And when she heard that Amias had thrown out the Sue family for insulting Selena, and even declared publicly that Selena wasn't dead, her world began to crumble. Men can't resist what they once lost and fear they'll never regain. If Selena came back, Amias would surely treat her like a treasure. That couldn't happen. After a sleepless night, Lisa made a risky decision. Even while pregnant, she had to seduce Amias again. She had to wrap him in her affection, her warmth, and make him emotionally dependent on her. Lisa held on to him tightly, as if afraid someone might steal him away at any moment. Darling, can you come lie down with me for a while? The baby and I miss you so much. But just as she rested her cheek against his back, quietly sobbing, Amias grabbed her wrist, hard. He shoved her away mercilessly. Lisa fell to the floor, her thin nightgown exposing much of her skin. Ashamed and furious, she was about to protest. But before she could speak, Amias's cold, cutting voice stopped her. Lisa, don't ever come near me again. I've decided. Selena is the one I've always loved. Pack your things and get out of this house. I never want to see you again. Lisa thought she'd misheard. It took her a few seconds to process. Then she asked in disbelief, Amias, what did you say? You want to break up with me? This isn't a joke. I'm pregnant. Selena is dead. We can finally be together. How can you leave me now? In her desperation, she let slip the truth she had long buried, without realizing the impact of her words. But that was exactly what ignited Amias's fury. Shut up! Amias roared in rage, grabbing her by the jaw. How many times do I have to tell you? Selena is not dead. And if you ever say one more word against her, I will never forgive you. Lisa trembled at the sight of his dark expression and stammered, I'm sorry. I was wrong, but the baby. Then came a sentence that chilled her to the bone. Oh, right. I almost forgot. The baby. You're coming with me to the hospital right now. You're getting an abortion. What? No, Amias. Please. Not this baby. I can't lose it. Lisa clutched her belly in desperation, struggling with all her strength. The baby was her last card. She couldn't let it be taken away. But Amias Lin was no longer moved by tears or pleading. He had already seized her wrist, ready to drag her out. Seeing herself cornered, Lisa clenched her teeth and made one final gamble. All right, I'll do it. I'll agree to the abortion, but I can't go out dressed like this. Let me change first, and I'll go with you, okay? Chapter 14. It was only then that Amias noticed the barely there sleepwear clinging to Lisa's body. His eyes darkened with disgust as he let go of Lisa abruptly. I'll give you 5 minutes. Go change, now, and don't try any tricks. Lisa clutched her collar and ran out, and Amias's brow slowly furrowed as regret once again welled up inside him. He couldn't believe he had hurt Selena over and over again for Lisa, even placing so much importance on the child Lisa carried. He had even abandoned Selena in a warehouse during a fire, just for Lisa. Why had he done it? Perhaps because Lisa had hidden her true self too well. She'd feigned pitiful innocence, and after he was drugged at a banquet, she had willingly sacrificed herself to cure him. From that moment, Lisa latched onto him, exploiting his guilt again and again. She dragged him into a mess he couldn't escape, until he committed unforgivable mistakes. While he was still lost in thought, the butler suddenly burst in, panicked. Something terrible has happened. President Lin, Miss Zhao attempted suicide. Amias was led to Lisa's room. where he found her lying in the bathtub with her wrists slashed. Blood flowed from her arms, staining the entire tub red. Fortunately, she had been discovered in time. The butler had already ordered someone to bandage her wounds, but Lisa had lost too much blood and was now unconscious. Her face drained of all color. In the past, seeing Lisa like this would have made Amias panic. He would have scooped her up without hesitation and rushed her to the hospital. He wouldn't have hesitated to give her his own blood. But now, all Amias felt was frustration. Lisa had once again created an unnecessary mess for him. He closed his eyes and gave the butler a low command. Take her to the hospital. Don't let her die here. The butler hesitated and added, President Lin. Before she fully lost consciousness, Miss Zhao said she wanted you to personally take her to the hospital. Otherwise, if she wakes up, she might try to kill herself again. So, what do you think? Amias's brow furrowed even deeper. He despised threats more than anything else, especially the hysterical kind that used life as leverage. Just then, his assistant called. Amias picked up with irritation. What is it? President Lin. The police thoroughly searched the remains of the burnt villa. They found no trace of Madam's DNA in the ashes. That means Madam didn't die in the fire. There's a strong possibility she's still alive. What? You're saying Selena might still be alive? Amias gripped the phone tightly, his voice trembling with excitement. It was as if life had suddenly been breathed back into him. He began muttering to himself, That's great. That's wonderful. Without sparing a second glance at Lisa, still unconscious in the tub, Amias grabbed his car keys and rushed to the police station for more details. By the time he arrived, the Su family had already gathered there after hearing the news. They all wore gloomy faces, anxiously checking the report again and again to confirm that Selena truly hadn't died. Amias found the scene laughably ironic and couldn't help but mock. What's wrong? Upset that the money you thought was in the bag just slipped away? The Su family sighed and, grasping at their final hope, tried to persuade him. President Lin, don't say that. Of course it's good news that Selena's still alive, but she's still missing. She's been gone for so long. For all we know, she might have mental issues by now. She's probably in no state to run Su Corporation. As her husband, you should hand the company over to someone experienced, like us. Heh, don't even dream of it. Ever since Amias's mother had told him how much the Su family had wronged Selena, he hadn't bothered putting on a pleasant face for them. Right in front of his assistant, he declared coldly, Since you acknowledge that I'm Selena's husband, then you should also know I have the right to make decisions on her behalf. From now on, every one of you is stripped of all dividends from Su Corporation. Any honorary positions you held are revoked. Selena doesn't need a bunch of heartless relatives. And if any of you dare try to guilt Selena into anything again using the excuse of family, you'll be making enemies with the entire Lin family. What? Amias, how could you do this? We won't accept it. The Su family immediately erupted in protest, completely disregarding the fact that they were still in a police station. They nearly lunged at Amias, demanding an explanation. The police had to step in to prevent a brawl. Amias calmly brushed the dust from his sleeves and instructed his assistant to go carry out the removals he had just announced. The assistant agreed without delay, but just before leaving, he remembered something and turned back to Amias. President Lin, we haven't found any direct leads on Madam yet, but we did uncover a few things related to her past. They're already on your desk. Amias nodded lightly. All right, got it. Chapter 15. Amias spent the next stretch of time working closely with the police to map out a detailed plan for finding Selena. Only after that did he return to the office, utterly exhausted. The documents his assistant had mentioned were neatly laid out on his desk. As he flipped through them, his hand unconsciously clenched into a fist. It turned out that after Selena's first pregnancy, Lisa had deliberately sent him away so he would miss Selena's prenatal checkup, then released vicious dogs to scare her, causing her to lose the baby. It turned out the incident where both Selena and Lisa were kidnapped, and the kidnappers forced him to choose between them, hadn't been a setup by Selena at all, but a scheme orchestrated by Lisa herself. And the fire that destroyed the villa, that had been Lisa too. She feigned a stomachache to lure him away, making sure he couldn't save Selena, nearly letting her burn to death before she disappeared completely. Amias slammed his fist down on the desk, chest heaving violently. Lisa Zhao, she would pay for this. Meanwhile, After being rushed to the hospital, Lisa's wrists were carefully stitched and bandaged by the doctors. Once the 4-drip finished, she slowly regained consciousness. But the moment she opened her eyes and saw only the old butler from the villa at her bedside, Amias nowhere in sight, she went into a frenzy. She couldn't accept it. Usually, even a minor cold or fever would make Amias panic over her. And now, with her life on the line, he hadn't even come to see her? Furious, she confronted the butler. Didn't I tell you to tell Amias that if I woke up and didn't see him, I'd kill myself again? Did you even pass the message? The butler had long since grown tired of Lisa's arrogant and domineering behavior. And now, seeing that she had clearly fallen out of favor, he no longer bothered pretending to be respectful. His reply was cold and dismissive. Miss Zhao, I passed along everything you said, but President Lin is busy investigating Madam's disappearance. He doesn't have time to bother with you. The moment Lisa heard that Amias was staying away because of Selena, she became even more enraged and smashed the vase on the table with a single swing. Then she grabbed the fruit bowl, her phone, everything within reach, and hurled it all to the floor in a wild tantrum. Just as she exhausted herself from the outburst, the door to the hospital room swung open. Amias walked in, his face a mask of cold fury. Who gave you permission to throw a fit in here? The moment Lisa saw him, she wiped away her rage and adopted a pitiful expression, leaping off the bed and throwing herself into his arms. Amias, you're finally here. I was so scared when I didn't see you. I thought something happened to you. Sob. Amias looked down at the venomous woman clinging to him, full of fake tears. Then he shot a glance at the butler, who promptly shut and locked the hospital room door. The moment the door clicked shut, Amias shoved Lisa away and clamped his hand tightly around her throat. Cough, Amias, what are you doing? Lisa struggled for breath, her hands weakly hitting his arm. But the only thing she heard was his voice, like a demon from hell. That fire, it was you, wasn't it? Lisa froze for a moment before realizing what he meant. Her eyes widened in panic. But before she could try to deny it, Amias continued. And the kidnapping, the dogs, all the little incidents, you orchestrated them, didn't you? What? You hated my wife that much? You spent all your energy tormenting her. Did you forget to ask for my approval as her husband? No, that's not it. Amias, Before Lisa could finish, Amias threw her violently to the floor, his face full of disgust. Then he stomped his foot down on her swollen belly. I remember telling you to get an abortion, didn't I? What? You forgot already? As he spoke, Amias slowly began rolling up his sleeves. No problem. If you didn't get around to it, I'll take care of it for you. Inside the soundproof VIP room, the woman's piercing, hysterical screams began to ring out. But outside, the nurses and doctors heard nothing unusual. Half an hour later, Lisa lay bloodied on the floor, so ravaged by pain she couldn't even make a sound. Amias calmly straightened his blood-stained suit, then turned to the butler and instructed coldly, let her suffer for 24 hours. When she's close to dying, then call a doctor. Yes, President Lin. Amias stepped out of the hospital room, but he felt no satisfaction. Instead, the deeper truth he now knew only intensified his guilt and longing for Selena. Just then, a message came through from his assistant. It contained a photo and a line of text. President Lin, CEO Lu overseas is about to host his engagement party, but on the invitation, the bride-to-be's name is Madame Selena. Amias immediately opened the image and saw Selena's name printed clearly on the card. His hands trembled uncontrollably. He immediately contacted his assistant. Book me a ticket. He would fly to Country M himself, find Selena Sue, and bring her home. Chapter 16. Today was Selena Sue and Romeo's engagement party. In the dressing room, Selena watched her reflection as her features were delicately enhanced by the makeup artist. Even now, she couldn't shake the surreal feeling. Was she really about to get engaged to Romeo Lu? Truthfully, she and Romeo hadn't spent much time together. It was more that they had known each other for a long time. Back in her junior year of college, Selena had stumbled upon Romeo being beaten up in a back alley. She whistled to scare off the attackers and helped Romeo to the campus infirmary for treatment. From that moment on, Romeo had developed feelings for her and began expressing his admiration. Subtly and openly, But Selena had already fallen for her upperclassman, Amias, and gently turned Romeo down. Afterward, Romeo kept his distance, no longer daring to express his feelings, yet he never missed a single performance of hers at school. Later, the Liu family moved their business overseas, and Romeo followed, further reducing their contact. The last time they saw each other was a year ago. Romeo had returned to China for a contract negotiation and asked if Selena would meet with him. But since Selena was already married, she felt it would be inappropriate and politely declined. Ironically, that same day, she received a taunting message from Lisa Zhao, which sent her storming to a restaurant to confront Amias about his cheating, only to run into Romeo. Amias had berated Selena, calling her hysterical, and walked away without a second glance, leaving her sobbing at the table. That was the moment Romeo saw her, sitting alone, quietly crying. His heart broke. He gently handed her tissues, comforted her, and finally, after calming her down, spoke up. He said, "Selena, if this marriage really makes you so unhappy, would you consider giving me a chance?" Selena was stunned. After all these years, after she had already become someone's wife, Romeo still hadn't forgotten her. She was so shocked she forgot to cry, frozen in place, unsure how to respond. Then Romeo, afraid she'd reject him, rushed to say, "Selena, please don't rush to refuse. I just want one chance. If one day, and I mean just if, you ever decide to leave this marriage, to walk away from that man, would you let me know, and let me be the one to marry you? Even if that day never comes, that's fine. I just want you to remember that you have this one possibility." Maybe it was the tears clouding her mind that night, or maybe it was the sincerity in Romeo's eyes under the soft lights. But Selena had nodded. Now, everything about this engagement party was proving Romeo had kept his promise. As she sat in reflection, the tall and striking man walked into the dressing room and was left speechless by how stunning she looked. Romeo took a long breath before he found his voice. "Selena, you're breathtaking." Selena, catching his gaze in the mirror, flushed pink. Romeo was already dressed in his tailored suit, and together with her white gown, they looked like a perfect match. Soon, she would walk down the aisle arm in arm with this man, in front of everyone. Noticing her nervousness, Romeo reached out and gently held her hand. The warmth in his touch brought a surprising calm to her heart. Then he said, his voice soft and reassuring, "Selena, the ceremony's about to start. Come wait with me backstage." Selena let him lead her, step by step, toward the waiting area. The venue was like a dream, lavishly decorated with blush pink roses symbolizing pure love. Nearly every powerful business figure in Country M had shown up to celebrate. Amid the envious gazes, Selena and Romeo slowly stepped onto the stage. But just as the MC raised the microphone to begin the ceremony, the grand doors to the hall were violently pushed open. Chapter 17. Selena turned toward the sound and froze completely when she saw the man standing at the entrance. It was Amias, dressed in a white suit that softened his usually sharp edges. Amias still retained the commanding air that always clung to him. Bathed in light, he held a bouquet of vibrant red roses and walked steadily toward her. Up close, staring into Selena's familiar face, seeing her alive and standing right in front of him, Amias's eyes welled with tears. He opened his mouth, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Selena, I finally found you." Selena clenched her fingers, barely maintaining her composure. "Amias, what are you doing here?" He answered immediately, "I'm here to take you home." "Selena, I know the truth now. I misunderstood everything. You didn't hire someone to kidnap Lisa Zhao. It was all her own staged act. I hate myself for being blind enough to blame everything on you. I even locked you in that warehouse to punish you. I'm sorry. Selena, you have no idea what I went through after you disappeared. I thought you died in that fire. I regretted everything, every single day. But now, thank God, you're still alive. And I can see you with my own eyes." As he spoke, Amias couldn't hold back any longer and reached out to touch her cheek. Selena stepped aside, frowning slightly. "You always wanted Lisa, didn't you? Don't tell me that because you thought I died. You've suddenly realized you love me." Her sarcastic tone cut Amias to the core. He shook his head in denial. "No. That's not it. I just never truly understood my heart. Selena, I've loved you for a long time. At first, I hated our arranged marriage. That's why I kept pushing you away. Using other women to hurt you. I regret it now. You don't know, when I heard from my mom that you had a crush on me for years, how much it hurt. I thought you had no feelings for me. That's why I assumed the worst. But in truth, I was the one who kept betraying your love. When Amias mentioned her youthful crush, Selena's heart sank. Yes, she had once loved Amias so passionately. When she learned she would become his wife, she had been so thrilled she couldn't sleep for days. But on the night of their wedding, he crushed her with his cold indifference. Then he made her care for his pregnant mistress, and repeatedly shattered her love for him, for Lisa. Selena let out a bitter laugh, tinged with relief. She shook her head slowly and replied, Amias, loving you is the biggest regret of my life. Whatever was between us is over. There's no need to bring it up again. I remember, I gave you divorce papers before you locked me in that warehouse. We're done. Don't you understand? Amias's breath caught in his throat. I don't understand. His voice was low, almost pleading without him realizing it. Selena, I never agreed to the divorce. Legally, we're still married. I don't know why you're with Romeo now. Was it just to get back at me? If so, you've succeeded. I know I was wrong. Please, stop this. All right? At that moment, Romeo could no longer stay silent. He stepped forward, grabbed Amias by the collar, and landed a solid punch straight into his face. Chapter 18. Romeo had always known Selena had suffered deeply in her marriage with Amias, but it wasn't until hearing their conversation just now that he truly understood how cruel Amias had been. He remembered the day Selena first arrived in Country M. She was covered in bruises, trembling uncontrollably, and her clothes still carried the acrid scent of smoke. So Amias had locked her in a basement, nearly letting her die in a fire? That bastard. One punch wasn't nearly enough. Romeo swung again, ready to land another. But this time, Amias reacted quickly, grabbing Romeo's fist in his palm. His voice menacing. Romeo, I haven't even come after you for stealing my wife. You'd better know when to stop. The entire venue gasped. Among the shocked crowd were not only guests, but also a group of reporters covering the engagement. Now that two high-profile CEOs were throwing punches on stage, the media swarmed, cameras rolling, smelling front-page scandal. Selena's face paled. She hadn't expected that Amias had never signed the divorce papers. That meant Romeo was now technically the other man? If this got out, the impact on Romeo's company could be devastating. She didn't even dare imagine the consequences. That's enough. Both of you. Stop it. Selena quickly stepped between them, trying her best to block the camera's view with her body. Suppressing her panic, she turned to Romeo with a trembling voice. I'm sorry, Romeo. I didn't know he never signed the divorce papers, or that he'd show up here. Let's postpone the engagement for now. The affectionate way Selena said Romeo's name made Amias clench his jaw tight, restraining himself from an outburst. Romeo, on the other hand, felt nothing but heartache upon hearing the cautious note in Selena's voice. As much as he hated to admit it, the engagement couldn't go on today. He raised a hand to summon security, ordering them to stop the press, then gently took Selena's hand. All right, Selena, you don't need to apologize, and you don't need to be afraid. I'll give you an even better engagement in the future. Let me take you away from here. As they turned to leave the stage, Amias followed urgently, but was quickly blocked by staff. All he could do was watch helplessly as Selena walked off hand in hand with another man. Later, after changing out of her gown, Selena emerged from the dressing room and saw Romeo anxiously waiting for her outside the door. She lowered her eyes, apologetic. I'm sorry. Romeo gently placed a finger to her lips. Shoo, Selena, you never have to apologize to me. I know what you're worried about. Don't be. I've already sent people to handle the reporters. No photos of you will leak. And don't let this temporary obstacle shake your resolve or push you to leave me. Even if the engagement wasn't completed, you've already been my fiancé in my heart for a long time. As for your divorce from Amias, I'll take care of it. You have nothing to fear. All right? As he spoke, Romeo's warm eyes never left hers, silently filling her with strength. Selena's hesitation slowly melted away. She took a deep breath and nodded firmly. If Romeo wasn't retreating, why should she? Their hearts now unburdened, both of them felt lighter. But just as they got into the car to return to the residence, someone suddenly dashed in front of the vehicle and blocked the road. The driver slammed the brakes, barely avoiding a collision. Selena looked up and saw that the person blocking the car was none other than Amias. Chapter 19. Amias's once pristine white suit was now stained and disheveled, making him look almost pitiful. But he didn't care. Step by step, he approached Selena's side of the car and knocked on the window. The window rolled down. Selena frowned tightly. Amias, whether you agree or not, I will file for divorce again. As for anything else, I don't think we have anything left to say. Do we? Amias pressed his hand against the window, as if afraid she might vanish again at any second. He swallowed hard, his voice rough. Selena, I know I ruined your engagement party. You probably hate me right now, but I did it because I couldn't bear to watch you marry someone else. But I didn't just come here for that. There's something urgent. My mother is very ill. She doesn't have much time left. She always treated you well. Lately, she keeps asking for you, missing you. Can you, just for her sake, come back with me? Just once. To see her? Selena fell silent. Madame Lin had once been her mother's best friend, and Selena had always respected her as an aunt. After marrying Amias, Madame Lin had been the only person in the Lin family she could rely on. In fact, after Selena's parents passed away, if it hadn't been for Madame Lin insisting she marry Amias, Selena would have long been devoured by her greedy relatives. Now that Madame Lin was seriously ill, morally and emotionally, Selena felt she should visit. But she really didn't want to have anything more to do with Amias. Amias waited for a long time, but Selena still didn't say a word. Panic crept in. He feared she might turn him down cold, or worse, elope with Romeo again and disappear from his world forever. At last, he gritted his teeth and said, Selena, if you're willing to come back with me and see my mother, I'll agree to the divorce. Selena's head snapped up, eyes wide. Are you serious? That flash of uncontainable excitement in her eyes pierced Amias's heart like a dagger. But to bring her back, he forced himself to nod. Yes, I mean it. Still, Selena didn't say yes right away. At that moment, Romeo gently took her hand. Their eyes met, and Selena instantly understood his meaning. After a brief pause, she looked at Amias and gave her final condition. I'll go back with you, but Romeo comes with me. Amias's fists clenched at his sides, but he forced himself to swallow his pride and nodded. All right. With the matter settled, the three of them left the engagement venue and headed straight to the airport. On the plane, Romeo was exceptionally attentive to Selena. He made honey water for her in case her stomach got upset. He carefully draped a blanket over her legs to shield her from the cold air. Selena, used to Romeo's gentleness, responded to every gesture with natural warmth. Amias watched them, his gaze fixed, jealousy radiating from him, but afraid of upsetting Selena. He didn't dare interfere. Still, a fire burned steadily in his eyes. It wouldn't be long before he took Selena, his Selena, back from Romeo. Chapter 20. The plane landed smoothly at the domestic airport. After the three of them exited and got into a car, Amias made a suggestion. Selena, our old villa is being rebuilt. For now, why don't we stay at my estate in the southern suburbs? I've already had the butler restore your old room. But Selena refused without even blinking. No need. Let's not waste any more time. Go straight to the hospital. Once we visit your mother, we can proceed with the divorce as soon as possible. Amias exhaled shortly, then gave the driver instructions to head to the hospital. During the ride, Amias kept his head down, texting and coordinating something on his phone. It wasn't until they arrived that he finally looked up. Selena entered the hospital room hand in hand with Romeo Liu. She had already messaged Madame Lin before leaving, giving a brief explanation of the situation. So when she appeared with another man by her side, Madame Lin wasn't surprised. In fact, having witnessed her son's failed marriage with Selena, Madame Lin was quietly relieved to see Selena find new happiness. After all, she had long regarded Selena as half a daughter. Leaning against the headboard, Madame Lin smiled and called out, "Come closer, Selena. Let Auntie get a good look at you." The word auntie made Amias frown. Madame Lin used to call herself mom in front of Selena. Had even his own mother accepted Selena's decision to leave him? He wouldn't allow that. Over the next hour, Selena and Madame Lin shared many private thoughts. At one point, Madame Lin even asked Amias to step out of the room so she could privately ask Romeo to take good care of Selena in the future. The conversation continued until sunset, when Selena finally left the room, reluctant to say goodbye. Wasting no time, she turned to Amias and said, "I've fulfilled my part. The Civil Affairs office is still open, let's go finalize the divorce." Amias swallowed hard. "Selena, are you really that eager to cut ties with me?" Selena let out a cold laugh. "What do you think?" After a moment of silence, Amias nodded. "Fine, we'll do it now, but I have one condition." He pointed directly at Romeo and said to Selena, "The divorce is between the two of us. He can't come." Selena hadn't expected this request. After a moment of hesitation, she frowned but still agreed. She truly didn't want to remain married for a second longer. If this would speed things up, she could accept it. Romeo immediately held her wrist. "Selena, I don't feel comfortable letting you go with him alone." Selena patted the back of his hand, reassuring him, "It's okay, we're in our own country, he won't dare do anything to me. Wait for me nearby, I'll be back soon. All right?" Seeing her firm resolve, Romeo had no choice but to agree. Before she left, he gave Amias a warning. "Amias, don't try any tricks. Once the divorce is done, send Selena back immediately, or else you'll learn that the Liu family isn't to be messed with." Amias shut his eyes briefly in disdain, ignoring the threat. Then, already by the car door, he opened it for Selena. "Let's go." Selena. On the road to the Civil Affairs office, Selena sat far from Amias, her body almost pressed against the car door. A vast distance seemed to stretch between them. "Selena, do you really hate being near me that much?" She didn't answer, instead turning her face to the window. But the next second, Amias suddenly lunged toward her, forcefully pulling her into an embrace, attempting to kiss her. "Ah!" Terrified, Selena slapped him across the face and cried out, "Are you insane? What are you doing?" Amias clenched his jaw, the corner of his mouth twitching into a mocking smile. "Selena, you're my wife. What's wrong with a kiss?" Selena stared at him in shock, then suddenly realized the car wasn't headed toward the Civil Affairs office at all. "You!" Before she could react, a strange fragrance filled her nose, and everything went black. Chapter 21. Selena groggily opened her eyes, her head spinning, only to find herself lying on a soft, luxurious bed. The room's layout was hauntingly familiar, if not for the unfamiliar scenery outside the window. She would have thought the old villa hadn't been burned down and that she had somehow ended up back there. So this must be the southern suburban villa Amias mentioned, which meant he had kidnapped her. He'd broken his promise, tricked her into returning to the country, and never actually intended to finalize the divorce. Selena's chest tightened with rage and rising dread. What about Romeo Liu? He'd been waiting for her. Would he be worried? And what if that lunatic Amias had harmed him? Selena didn't even realize it, but Romeo already occupied a very important place in her heart. She scanned the room, searching for any communication device, but found nothing. As expected, the door was locked tight. Just as she was reaching the height of desperation, the door suddenly opened. Amias stumbled in, covered in blood, making Selena jolt in fear. "Why you? What happened to you?" Though clearly physically weakened, Amias didn't flinch. Instead, he raised his arm urgently to show her. It was covered in brutal, savage bite marks. "Selena," he said breathlessly, "I missed your prenatal checkup when you were first pregnant. Because of that, Lisa was able to release a dog and scare you into losing the baby. That dog may have been hers, but I was responsible, too. So I've had dogs bite me all over. I wanted to make it up to you. Is this enough?" Selena's breathing turned rough. This man, he was insane. Then Amias pulled a charm out of his pocket and handed it to her. "This peace charm, I once let Lisa tear apart the one your parents left you, then forced you to kneel and beg her for another on those 399 temple steps. I went and got you one again. I just hope it's not too late." Selena glanced down and saw his knees. His pants were torn, and he was covered in dirt and dust. Before she could respond, Amias pulled out a knife from who knew where and shoved it into her hand. "Selena, I even forced you to donate skin to Lisa. I made you suffer so much. That was my fault. Now you can punish me, cut off my skin, take revenge. Go ahead. With that, Amias gripped her hand and moved the blade toward his own body without hesitation. Selena panicked and, just before the blade broke skin, tore herself free and threw the knife across the room. Amias, are you completely insane? His voice trembled. I'm sorry, Selena. Did I scare you? I just want to atone for everything I did to you. This is all what I owe you. If today is too much, then we can continue tomorrow. Once I've repaid it all, you'll be able to forgive me, right? Selena was so stunned by his warped logic that she couldn't even find the words to respond. But she also didn't have the energy to argue. She didn't dare say anything else that might tip him over the edge. Yet Amias wasn't done. With his bleeding hand, he gently took hers and said, in a voice disturbingly tender, I prepared a gift for you. Let's watch it on TV together, okay? Selena hadn't expected that gift to be a video. It was footage of the hospital, Amias personally punishing Lisa, leaving her to bleed and writhe in agony. He whispered beside her ear, Selena, look, this venomous woman caused you to lose 2 children, and now she dared to try giving birth to my child, so I gave her the abortion myself. Selena nearly vomited. The blood, the cruelty, the madness, it was too much. She couldn't bear another second. She lunged forward and shut off the screen, then turned to Amias and shouted, Don't tell me you did all this for me. I never asked for this insanity. Amias, what the hell do you want? When will you let me go? What have you done to Romeo? Amias smiled serenely, unnervingly calm. Don't worry, Romeo's been deported back to Country M. He'll never come between us again. Selena's heart plummeted straight into darkness. Chapter 22. In the days that followed, Selena remained trapped in the villa, forced to live under the same roof as Amias. Amias Lin stopped going to work entirely. He stayed at home all day, claiming he wanted to make up for the 8 years of marriage he had neglected. He would get up early to cook lavish breakfasts for her himself. He'd patiently dry every strand of her hair after she showered, playing the part of a perfect house husband. But Selena's attitude remained unmoved. She didn't soften in the slightest. That didn't seem to discourage Amias. One night, as Selena lay fast asleep, the door suddenly creaked open. Amias stumbled and reeking of alcohol, then collapsed onto the bed and wrapped his arms around her, his hands sliding down to her waist. Startled awake, Selena immediately realized what he intended. She shoved him off in a panic. From beneath her pillow, she pulled out a small knife she had long prepared. Her hand trembled as she pointed it at him. Don't touch me. Get away. Amias, who had clearly been suppressing this urge for a long time, was emboldened by the alcohol. Ignoring the knife, he lunged forward again. Selena, you wouldn't really kill me. But in the very next second, the cold gleam of the blade flashed, and he stopped dead in his tracks. His drunken haze abruptly sobered. It wasn't because Selena had stabbed him. It was because the knife was pointed, not at him, but at her own throat. Amias, she said coldly, take one more step toward me, and I'll kill myself right in front of you. Amias's breath hitched. He stepped back at once, terror and anguish flooding his eyes. She would rather die than let him touch her? Okay. I'm going. I'll leave. Just put the knife down. He backed all the way to the door, and only after watching her lower the blade did he gently close it behind him. But after that night, whatever thread of connection remained between them completely shattered. Selena refused to speak to him at all. Not a single word, not even a glance. Amias tried everything he could think of to redeem himself. Nothing worked. To make matters worse, Lin Corporation began facing a string of crises. Amias could no longer afford to stay home all day. He was forced to return to work, coming and going at odd hours. Still, he ordered guards to watch over the house, ensuring Selena had no way to escape. But deep down, Selena felt something shifting. It wouldn't be long now. Everything was coming to an end soon. On the 10th day of her captivity, an unexpected visitor arrived at the villa. Selena took a moment to recognize the disheveled, dirt-streaked woman clutching a baby in her arms. It was none other than the once proud Lisa, now looking utterly deranged. Lisa shrieked at Amias. Amias, our baby missed his daddy. You wouldn't come see him, so I had to bring him to you. Selena scoffed coldly and turned to Amias. I thought you said she had a miscarriage. Looks to me like your child is doing just fine. Amias's expression turned grim. He quickly replied, "She did, I swear. Selena, that crazy woman miscarried a long time ago. Even if she had given birth, the timing doesn't match." Selena paused, something felt off. It had only been 5 months since Lisa announced her pregnancy. Even if she gave birth prematurely, it was far too early, and the child in her arms certainly didn't look like a preemie. So, Lisa had stolen this child? Was she really this far gone? Selena looked up and found her suspicion confirmed in the dark weight behind Amias's eyes. He immediately ordered the guards to restrain Lisa, then turned to Selena. "Don't worry, stay here and be good. I'll handle this lunatic and be right back." Amias feared Lisa would spout more madness, or worse, harm the child she'd clearly stolen in a moment of instability. He wasn't worried about the baby's safety out of concern. He just didn't want Selena to see something horrifying. With that, he quickly dragged Lisa out of the villa. Silence returned once more. Outside, the guards remained stationed as usual. Selena sighed and turned to head upstairs. But then, she heard a voice, crisp and clear, call out to her, "Selena!" She turned around, and there he was, windswept, travel-worn, but unmistakably real, Romeo. He had come to take her away. Chapter 23. Amias dragged the raving Lisa to a psychiatric hospital, and after much effort, managed to retrieve the stolen infant and hand the child over to the police. When he returned home, weary and emotionally drained, the scene that greeted him left him stunned. The villa courtyard was a mess. Clear signs of a struggle everywhere. The bodyguards he had stationed to guard Selena were gone without a trace. Cold sweat broke out across his palms. He dashed inside the house, searching room after room, no sign of Selena. "Selena! Selena! Where are you?" He shouted at the top of his lungs. But the woman who once responded to that call was gone. Who took her? He forced himself to stay calm. But one name came to mind. The one who had been covertly attacking Lin Corporation in recent days. The one who used this chaos as cover to take Selena away. Romeo. He had the nerve, the power, to not only return to the country after being deported, but to stir up such a storm right under Amias's nose. Worst of all, he had succeeded. Realizing this, Amias rushed to his office, vowing to personally track down Romeo's whereabouts and retrieve Selena. He worked through the night without rest. Finally, by noon the next day, he got a lead. Romeo had indeed taken Selena, but they hadn't yet left the country. Just as he ordered his assistant to prepare a car, a message lit up on his phone. It was from Selena Sue. She had asked to meet him at a nearby cafe. Amias drove there at once. From afar, he saw Selena standing next to Romeo. What pierced his heart wasn't just the sight of her with another man, it was that radiant smile on her face. That warm, relaxed glow she used to carry, the one he hadn't seen in what felt like forever. Amias's breath hitched. He stepped forward and softly called, "Selena." Her smile vanished the moment she saw him. She reached into her bag and handed him a document. Amias took it and froze. It was a divorce lawsuit notice. So she had chosen to sue for divorce, since he had refused to sign. She had chosen the legal route to leave him anyway, and the document listed detailed evidence of his infidelity, abuse, and mistreatment over their marriage, each accusation sharp and irrefutable. It was all there. Had Romeo helped her gather this? Just in the 10 days they were apart. A wave of helplessness surged inside Amias. He looked up at Selena, grief flooding his voice. "Selena, don't do this to me." But the woman before him had nothing more to say. Romeo stepped forward, shielding Selena with his body as he looked Amias straight in the eye. "Your marriage with Selena is over. You have no right to come near her again. You'd better accept that." With that, he took Selena's hand and walked away. Amias stood rooted to the spot, staring after them. Some part of him knew, if he let Selena walk away now, he would never see her again. That thought alone drove him forward without thinking. He ran after her, blinded by desperation. He didn't notice the large truck speeding down the road. Bang! The impact sent Amias flying, his body arcing through the air before crashing down hard onto the pavement. Then, all he saw was red. 1 month later, Selena and Romeo held a grand wedding in Country M. Yes, they had missed too much time. So instead of a second engagement, they went straight to the final step. As they exchanged rings and kissed beneath a sky of blessings, Selena felt as if her heart was overflowing with love. She had never felt this happy, this complete. After the wedding, she received a package from Madame Lin, sent all the way from Country M. Inside was a letter. Amias had awakened from his coma, but had lost both legs. Madame Lin wrote that Amias had stabilized the one-sailing Sioux Corporation before the accident, but didn't have the courage to return the company to Selena in person. Enclosed in the envelope was a complete stock transfer agreement, transferring Sioux Corporation fully back to her hands. Selena calmly folded the letter and set it aside. From this day forward, the life ahead of her would be filled with nothing but light and peace.